I wonder if people can see me while I'm waiting for it to set up. Uh-oh, taking its time. Hey, everybody. Good Monday evening. As you get on, comment, tell me hi. Tell me what you did this weekend. Tell me what you're knitting or crocheting on right now. As usual, I need a minute to figure out how to get my comments to show in a way that makes sense and actually scrolls on its own. So let's see. Hi, Joyce. Hi, Mom. Hi, Julie. Hi, Jamie. Jamie, at least you can join us this way. I know you can't be here in person, but at least you can join me online virtually. Melissa, you made Natalie's birthday cake. Oh my gosh, it looked so cool. Melissa's phenomenal with birthday cakes. Hi, Tammy. Hi, Jackie from Houghton Lake. Nice. Hi, Christina. You guys, everybody should tell Christina happy birthday. Today is her 40th birthday. Wow. 40 years young. She doesn't look a day over 20. Oh. All right, now where are my comments? There we go. Mom's knitting on the fireworks. I bet a couple of you are knitting on the fireworks. Hi, E. Hi, Bonnie. Hi, Cora. Look at you, all three of you in a row. Bonnie, E, and Cora. I'm going to see all three of you in September. Yay. Julie on call again and working on the sorrel. Yeah, Julie and Melissa had to restart their sorrels. Some of it was a gauge issue. Some of it was, I don't know, maybe the bustier sizes weren't at test knit as well. I don't know. Hi, Donna. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and get started, but continue telling me hi. Tell me what you did this weekend. Tell me what you're working on, knitting or crochet. Bonnie just finished my You Are Him sweater. Busty sizes. It's true, you're busty. You can't deny it, Julie. Oh, urchin sweater. Okay. All right. So today is Monday, July 12th, 2021. It's Monday. This is Monday Motivation with Kristen, me, owner of the Little Yarn Shop in downtown Saginaw, Michigan. Shop hours are Wednesday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. And I go live every Monday at 7. So join me. On that note, for those of you who are regulars, one of the things that helps more people see the event is if you go in when I create those events and say that you're either interested or going. You know, Facebook has all these algorithms, and of course, as soon as, well, sorry, I lost my train of thought there for a second. Somebody messaged the shop and it popped up and distracted me. Facebook has this whole thing where the more people like things, the more people they show it to. So it would help. Let's see. Yeah, and the actual Monday motivation apps, the Monday motivation events. Chandra, still working on the fireworks, wasn't reading pattern close enough. Oh, Joan finished Nancho. Victoria's still working on hers. Hi, Barbara. All right, you guys, I'm gonna try and move this so I'm actually not looking quite so far away. My phone's up here and that's the camera I'm using, but my comments are down here on my laptop. So I apologize that it doesn't seem like I'm looking at you guys all the time. Jackie, Hi, Jackie. Thank you. You love my scarf. Isn't it cool? Oh, I'm going to talk about that in a minute. Hi, Marcina. Working on your sorrel. Excellent. Okay. So if you are watching this on a replay, please comment in, put something in the comments that tells me you're watching on the replay, where you're watching from. I always like to hear where everybody's coming from. Yes, mom says you can share the live. As I'm live, you can share it to other groups, like if you're part of any knitting groups or pages, I think, or just your friends. Let everybody see me. Why not? Okay, so I said where I am. I said who I am. Let's get right into knits. Did we talk about this last week? I don't think I talked about this last week because I think it was blocking. You guys tell me. Tell me if I talked about the scarf already. I don't think I had it done the last time I talked about it. So I just want to make sure I'm not repeating myself. Hi, Mary Kay. Hi, Janie, working on your fireworks. Awesome. Hi, Sherry. Okay, Cora says no. Perfect. So I finished my topographical scarf. It's so amazing to me how a skein of blue yarn, dark blue yarn, and 2 skeins of yarn that look like this turns into this. It's 7 feet long. I didn't actually look at the pattern to see how long it's supposed to be, but isn't it beautiful? The colors are just so vibrant. You could probably get away. I mean, you could get away with using a black if you like that dark contrast instead of the dark blue. I just wanted something a little bit differently. So I had somebody ask me, and so I'll mention it again, if they were going to do a short row project like this by this designer, Marion Melchor, I think, whether it would be easier to start with the scarf or the shawl. I'm looking up there because that's where they are. They're up on display up there. Mary Kay, yes, looks like stained glass. The shawls do too. I would honestly recommend starting with the scarf. One, it's heavier yarn. It's written for both DK and worsted. And 2, yes, you cast on 310 stitches, but you always have 310 stitches. So you can put stitch markers in. I put them in every 10 stitches. I don't know if you guys remember that, but I had lots of bling all the way across. With the butterfly papillon shawl, the stitch count changes because you're knitting a shawl, so it's growing. So it's a little bit trickier to keep track of your stitch count and make sure that your short rows are in the right place. Just my personal opinion on that. So I was playing, let's see. Melissa says pattern says 76 to 80 inches. So that's 5'10" to 6'8". Oh, so it's about right. I would say it was like 6.5 to 7 feet. So, and I didn't aggressively block it. I just laid it out well. I soaked it in my sink like I do with a little bit of Eucalyptus, a little bit of wool wash in my sink. Just, my hot water takes forever to get hot. So I turn both hot and cold on and just let it run. So by the time my bathroom sink is full, it's not quite freezing, but it's a little bit cooler than room temperature. Put this in there, let it soak for a good half hour. And then what I do is, if I can get it in a clump, pick it up, squeeze the water out. If I can't pick it up all in one ball, I will hold it against the side of the sink and just kind of press it against the side, open the drain, let the water drain out, and kind of work with it from there to get some of the water out. If it wasn't a really, really long scarf, I probably would have put it in my washing machine on the spin cycle just to get some more water out, but I didn't bother doing that. Melissa tried the math in my head. Yes. Well, hopefully close enough. Hi, Diane. Jackie, did the colors run? It's tough to tell. I mean, the water was a little bit murky. I don't know if that was because of the Harmony, the rainbow yarn, or the Malabrigo, the dark blue. And they didn't bleed. Like up in here, you can't see any bleed or color transfer, especially on those light sections. You don't see any of the darks bleeding in there. So a lot of times they'll just have excess dye that won't come onto your project, but will end up in the water. A minute washing machine. Salad spinner works great too. There you go. That's a good idea, Joan. So I just put it in there for a minute or two, let it spin, and then lay it out on my blocking mats. You can never have enough blocking mats. This one, obviously, I said it was 7 feet because I have 2 for 6 feet worth of blocking mats, and then I had to drape it off one end. So I was playing around with colors because Diane and I were chatting about this the other day too, and alternatives to the navy like I use. So the yarn it uses is Harmony. Whoop, there we go. Earth Harmony DK. It is 300 yards, 100 grams, 100% super fine, super wash merino. Their yarn is so squishy. This is so squishy, and just the way they spin their yarn, it's got such a good loft to it. So 2 of these, and they run $28.50 a piece, and 1 contrast. So I don't have any of the dark blue. It's Prussia blue, although it is supposed to be on its way to me from Malabrigo. So if you want that combo, let me know. And when I get the Malabrigo yarn in, I can set yours aside. But I also have this Arroyo. So that's what I used, was a Malabrigo Arroyo, which is their sport DK in Va, which is this dark green. It's got greens and blues in there. That would be really beautiful. If you want not so high contrast, but you want to highlight one of the colors, Cereza would be beautiful. And Diane and I were playing around with Diane Burns. If you don't know, she's on here all the time. With white too. It would be comparable with the butterflies, the papillon shawls that I have. I have one in black, one in kind of a cream color, and one in that turquoise. It just gives you a different look with each one. Or I really like this combo too, with this dark gray. This is Autumn and Indigo Fibers. I don't have a lot of this. I just it was some yarns that I bought to help another yarn store out that was going out of business. So I snagged what I could, but I love this combo. Look at this gray is not like a solid gray. It's called Wolfgang, and it's got these little speckles of pink in there, but it's like a rainbow on a cloudy day. I just love that look. And it only takes one of whatever your contrast color is. If you like the rainbow yarn but didn't want to knit something like this with the short rows and wanted other ideas, it would also be really, really cool in the chevron, this scarf. Missoni inspired chevron scarf. That one's not on Ravelry because it's one that I wrote. But this uses, it was knit with a different colorway of Earth's self-striping yarn. So this that you're seeing is not me changing colors or changing yarns. It's all the yarn doing it itself. That rainbow would be really, really pretty in this. Hi, Erin. So that's another idea too. 2 skeins would give you a pretty long scarf. Of course, it's DK yarn, so you could use it for anything. You could use it for stripes in a sweater. You could use it for hats and fingerless mitts. Lots of choices. I found out when I was putting another order in for the DK Harmony yarn that it also comes in a bulky. And I'm going to show you guys what that looks like when it's knit up. Mom says she loves the chevron scarf. So here's their bulky version. If you've worked with Earth's, it's called, I don't know if it's kazoo or kuzu, K-O-O-Z-O-O, I think. It's their bulky yarn, 100% super fine, superwash merino, 66 yards in 100 grams. It falls right in between Malabrigo Chunky, which is a bulky yarn, and Malabrigo Rasta, which is a super bulky. They classify this as a super bulky, and it's kind of right in between. The project I'm working on right now, if you're in the store, you'll be able to see the difference, and you'll probably be able to see it when I hold it up too. So it looks like this in the skein. Looks like this when you wind it. Isn't that beautiful? And each skein is 2 full repeats. So the way I wound this one, it goes from red, Roy G. Biv, to violet. And then again, goes back to red, and then again to violet. So if you're working on a project where you want that consistency, it's very easy to do. I just need to make sure I pull from the outside and not the inside if I want my stripes to go the right way. So what am I striping? I am holding that Harmony Bulky with Malabrigo Chunky, which that's one of those things that I have no control over, you guys, that they call this a chunky. They call it Malabrigo Chunky, but it's actually a bulky. Some of the labels say chunky, some of the labels say bulky, but it's definitely not a chunky yarn. You want like size 10 or 11 needles. It is a little bit thinner than this that I was mentioning, but what am I making? I decided I was going to do a 4-day sweater, but a completely different 4-day sweater, and just on my terms. I'm still working on the Marie Green 4-day sweater, but we'll get to that in a minute. I kind of wanted an instant gratification project, plus I had in my mind what I wanted to do with this yarn. So I am working on, it's called the Easton Pullover. Look at how beautiful that is. So it alternates thick and thin stripes. It's designed for 3 colors, where the black is a main color, and then the thick and thin stripes are supposed to be 2 different colors, but this yarn changes on its own. So why not let it change? I made sure I started at purple because it started from the bottom. So my rainbows go in the right direction. And then they changed the stripes on the sleeves, which looks really, really cool. It's supposed to be an oversized, boxy sweater, which I love. Actually, Victoria already said she wanted to steal it from me. And honestly, it would have been done if I had enough yarn at home with me yesterday. I have 1 row left to do on my collar and 1 sleeve, and I needed more yarn. I ran out. So for this size, I have used 1 skein for the front, 1 skein for the back, and I will use 1 skein of each sleeve, 1 skein for each sleeve, only because I want my colors to match up. So I have, well, I probably would need that other skein anyways. I have yellow, green, blue, and violet left from my sleeve. And if I really wanted to, I could just pick up and start with that, but I don't. My OCD is a little bit where I need them to match. So this is done in pieces and seamed. The sleeves are done that way too. You wouldn't have to do it that way if you wanted to knit the sleeves in the round. You absolutely could. I debated knitting the whole project in the round. What you run into with stripes like this, where it's the yarn doing the striping, is if your stitch count changes, your stripes are not going to be consistent. So if I had knit this in the round, it would have been fine up until here where I split for the sleeves, because all of my rows were the same length. Once you split for your sleeves, you're no longer going that whole circumference, you're only going halfway. So you control how wide the stripes are, but your colors are not going to change in the same way. It'll be a slower color change. So I decided to follow the pattern, what it said, and do it in pieces. I did actually knit the sleeve flat because I didn't have a short enough circular needle. And the pattern calls for a 10.5, and I actually went up to 11s for the body of it, based on a swatch I had of this yarn already, plus notes from a lot of people. Make sure you go on, if there's a pattern that has lots of projects in there on Ravelry, make sure you go in there and check out what people say about it. Sorry, you guys, I got so busy chatting about the sweater, I didn't even look at the comments. It is gorgeous. Erin, you know it's cool if Victoria wants it. I know. Every once in, I have my cool mom moments every once in a while. So that's one of the things I'm working on right now. I have some of the bulky yarn here in the store, but I'm pretty much taking pre-orders for sweaters quantities of the yarn. So if there's something that if you're interested in this project, call the shop or message the shop and we'll figure out how many you need and make sure you get it. So you can't really tell, but the black yarn is a tiny bit thinner. Well, you can kind of see it when you can see through or not see through it. Maybe not. It feels a little bit different too. The rainbow yarn is a little bit more dense, but for something like this, I don't think it's going to matter. So that's my Easton pullover. Diane, okay, we will make sure, I'll make sure that I add that to my list for you. What else am I working on? I am, like I mentioned, working on my, oh, so we didn't really talk about, sorry, you guys, I'm all over the place. We didn't talk about the price of this. The DK weight is $28.50. This is, I know I had it here. The bulky is $22 a skein. So the price is different. For the most part, their self-striping yarns all kind of stay the same until you get to the really bulky. So it's $22 a skein for those. And the Malabrigo Chunky is $12.50. Julie, your daughter wants one. Well, get on it. Finish your sorrel, come in and get her yarn and make her a sweater. So I'm working on my attempt at a 4-day sweater knit along for Marie Green. Most people are working on their fireworks. As people were coming on in the beginning, they were mentioning that they're maybe working on, or in Cora's case, finishing their fireworks sweaters. People have been bringing in theirs to show. I love the baubles. I love the beads. I love all of the different variations that people are doing. It's so neat to see. But since I already did the fireworks, I'm doing the still water. So it's got this pretty little, I just started the patterning down the front, this pretty little cabling. I guess she calls it like a wave. I call it like a fake cable. It's really just increases and decreases. Where is it? There it is. I know it's kind of tough to see, but yarn overs, knit two togethers, slip, slip, knits. I got so used to using those big needles, I kind of put this aside for a little bit. But I did work on it last night when I ran out of yarn on the other one. Changing skeins. I don't know if I talked about this last week or not, but I joined a new skein of yarn, and it is a hand-dyed yarn. So you can see that this is a little bit pinker maybe than that first skein. I took a couple rows where I switched every 2 rows back and forth, like 2 rows, second yarn, 2 rows, first yarn, 2 rows, second yarn, 2 rows, first yarn, until I ran out of that first one, and then just continued on. If you don't want to fuss with alternating 3 skeins, that's a good way to do it. And the last project that I'm working on is, I had a wine yarn while I was here, so that's going in my bag to go home so I can finish my sweater. My slipping sideways pullover. I really, really, really want to get this done, and I do keep working on it, but what a difference to go from size 11 needles to size 2.5 needles. I love the fabric that small needles make with fingering weight yarn. It's a really nice thickness, a really nice texture. And this pattern, Slipping Sideways, has vertical and horizontal stripes. It would be slimming, it would be flattering, uses 2 different colors of fingering weight yarn. Here's how they look in the ball versus how they look knit up. So I'm working bottom to top of the front panel. So I know I have a ways to go. But now that I figured out the pattern and it's easy enough to sit and work on, this can be TV knitting. So it might get a little bit more love. We talked about that before, and I still have a fair amount of the Heritage silk paints left. I think I mentioned I was going to post pictures last week and I forgot. So if you can, Melissa, if you can shoot me a note when we're done that I need to post those pictures, please, because I'll write it down, but then I'll lose my notes. Melissa, still haven't memorized that pattern yet for the panels. 2 rows color A, no, 4 rows color A, 2 rows color B, 4 rows color A. Then you reverse them. Every time you change colors, you do knit one, slip one. How about that? So that's what I'm working on. I did want to, along those lines, in terms of recognizing patterns, my brain kind of just does that. And I know we've talked about that before, that some people are able to do that, some people aren't. There's nothing wrong with one way or the other. It's just how our brains process things. You could give me directions to go somewhere and it wouldn't sink in quite as well as a knitting pattern would. But for those of you that like numbers or like data, I guess would be the way to put it. I got thinking about this with my Stillwater, with the 4-day sweater knit along, the Marie Green one, calculating how long it would actually take you to knit a project, knitting at your average normal rate. That would be as straightforward as timing yourself and figuring out how many rows or how many stitches you knit within a certain amount of time, whether it's 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 5 minutes isn't going to do you any good. But if you're knitting in the round or flat, you know how many stitches are in your rows. Keep track of how many rows you knit in a certain amount of time. You'll know your number of stitches. If you figure out the number of stitches in your whole pattern, you can multiply that out. That's a lot of math to probably come up with a number that might be a little depressing because it'll come up with minutes and then it'll seem like a lifetime. But sometimes I think it's kind of cool just to see how quickly I could get a project done when I like this, like the Slipping Sideways. I keep looking at it thinking, I'm pretty much halfway through my first, Melissa, too much mathing. I'm halfway through the front panel on this. And I keep looking at it going, it's size 2.5 needles. It's so slow. But if I actually time myself to see how much I get done in a half an hour, how many repeats, how many rows, I could estimate based on knowing how many repeats I have left about how long it's going to take me to finish the front and the back part of it. In my case, it might actually be encouraging because it's not going to take as long as I think. Actually, just assume it's going to take twice as long as I expect. Sadly, you're usually right. You know, it's hard in the summer too. We've got a lot going on. I tend to, all my projects are kind of bigger projects right now. So unless it's nighttime and I'm sitting by the fire, I don't really want a lot of knitting on my lap. And that humidity, it's been so humid. Yarn doesn't like humidity very much. So that's one thing. I am a lover of spreadsheets too. So for trying to figure out total number of stitches or stitch count per row, if a pattern doesn't have that, I will make a spreadsheet and figure it out myself. If it's going to help me stay on track, I'd rather do a little bit of work in the beginning. I'm more likely to do that than I am to swatch. You know, like I said, we all have our quirks. So a little bit of work in the beginning sometimes helps me save some frustration when I get down the line and realize I didn't do something right. In things like the fireworks sweater, for example, versus the Stillwater. So the Stillwater was her first year. The fireworks is her fourth year. For some reason, when the designer wrote up the pattern for the Stillwater, the rows are numbered, like row 1 through row 37. And then it switches around a little bit. So that's pretty easy to keep track of. In the fireworks sweater, she doesn't number rows. So it's really easy, and I posted about this, but I'm going to mention it again for people that are not that far. Really easy to miss where it says next 3 rows knit in pattern, I think is what it says. But if you're not seeing row numbers, it's not catching your eye that it says next 3 rows. If you're going, well, this is 1 row, this is the next. So something to think about. Tammy, process knitters don't have such problems. A swatch. Yeah, Marianne. Oh, sometimes I swatch. Actually, for this big chunky, for the, what did I call it? The Easton pullover, the sweater that I'm doing with the black and the rainbow yarn. I had a swatch of the rainbow yarn only because I started a completely different project. And I didn't swatch, but it was a little cowl, so I wasn't too worried about it. It was so dense on 10s. It was 9s or 10s. I think it was 10s. And it was so dense, like you could have just stood it right up. It could have been a crown, I guess, but that's not really what I was going for. So at least I could go from that and bump up my needle size based on the gauge the pattern called for. Hi, Kong. Stephanie, I got enough data through the school year. I don't want to put that much work into my knitting. See, it's kind of my own little schooling since I'm not in school and my daughter hardly ever asks me for help on anything. So, and this is homework I can give myself and do or not do. Knit Companion helped remember the 3 rounds, thankfully. Yes. Yeah, so we all have our, and someday I probably will get to the point where I will utilize Knit Companion more than just Excel spreadsheets or Google Sheets. Because the same thing, and I know people that love Knit Companion will say the same thing, that if you just take the time to set things up in the beginning, it'll go a lot smoother for you. So what else about yarn? My other 2 things I was thinking about is in terms of not being so data driven, but wanting to make sure that you are using your yarn most efficiently in a project. Like Karen's got these shawls. Stephanie, Knit Companion, Casey is Knit Companion. It's an app for Android or Apple products. Lets you do charts, color code things. We're going to be doing a class again on that soon, I think. Lisa, the beaded row counter. Yes, 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 yes. The beaded row counter works great for that. Oh, I thought I had mine in here, but I don't. Uh-oh, I gotta switch my earbuds here. It's telling me my battery's low. So you guys might lose me for a second, but hopefully not. Let me know if you can still hear me okay. Otherwise, I'll just be jabbering with no idea whether you guys can hear me or not. Melissa's giving me a thumbs up. Awesome. Thank you. Ashley, yes. Yes, those little row counters are fantastic. But about yarn. And so Karen has these shawls that she's doing, that she's taking 3 skeins of fingering weight yarn and just knitting them. Every row is exactly the same, just knitting until she almost runs out of yarn. If you want to do something like that and want to use the most yarn, but not, you don't want to run out of yarn, obviously, nobody wants to run out of yarn in the middle of a project or close to the end of a project. Weigh your yarn. I think I've talked about this before, but a kitchen scale or a food scale. I have actually my old Weight Watcher scale here in the shop. A lot of you have probably seen. I use that thing for all kinds of stuff. If I, like for this, if I was coming to the end of the project and coming to the end of my yarn and I was worried whether I was going to have enough or not, I would weigh my yarns, make a little note, knit a couple rows, weigh it again. So I would know exactly how much yarn I used for those couple rows. And it helps me figure out, okay, well, I have 6 rows left and I used yarn, so I have plenty left. So sometimes we panic more than we need to on things. On the other hand, I don't remember who it was that was talking about this, but I think it's a really cool concept. If you are knitting a shawl and just knitting away, you knit across the right side of your last row, and all you have to do is knit back or purl back and bind off, and then bind off on the right side, and you don't have enough yarn to do that. Somebody mentioned to me that you could actually, if you want your bind off still on the right side, you could actually break your yarn at the far end. This only works if you're using circular needles too. If you're using straights, you could, but it's going to be a lot of transferring stitches. If you slide your knitting down to the other end, start at the beginning of the row again and bind off, rejoin your yarn and bind off there, it'll be on the correct side, on the right side of your work, but it won't take that entire wrong side row back worth of yarn. I hope that makes sense. It made sense when I wrote it down and it makes sense in my head, but again, that doesn't mean it makes sense to everybody else. So techniques, things coming up. There are a couple things coming up. Some are events and some are yarns. The Dream in Color pop-up clubs and socket clubs are coming. So many of you have participated in the past, or you've been in here and you've seen these yarns with gold labels on them. Any of my yarns with gold labels are club exclusive colors, which means if I didn't commit to them ahead of time, before the club even started for the season, I don't get them. And once they're here, that's it. And then I don't get them ever again. So these are from, let's see, March, April, February. So these were from Spring's Club, February, March, and April. I have just a couple left. I have 1 of the orange, 3 of the green, and 3 of the speckly left. And that's the last of my spring pop-up colors. Christina, I'm a club lover. Yes. So they retail for $34.99. It's their smushy with cashmere. So it has 70%, let me double check, 70% superwash merino, 20% cashmere, 10% nylon. What I started this spring and I'm bringing back in the fall is if you are pre-ordering, which you can do over the phone, in the shop, of course, or on the website. Melissa posted the links, it looks like. You get a discount on them. You can pre-order just 1 month. You can pre-order all 4 months. So the club for the fall goes September through December. So every month at the beginning of the month, I will get a box of this yarn, and that's it. And if you've pre-ordered, yours go right out of the box and set to the side. The most recent, most popular one was that turquoise. Oh, that beautiful tealy turquoise yarn that just shot out of here really fast. I really needed to make sure that all of the pre-ordered people got theirs set aside. So that's on the website. Something new that I am, oh, so the discounted price is $31.99. Normally they're $34.99 a skein with that cashmere in them. Oh, it's so worth it. The discounted price is $31.99. You are not limited to just one skein. You may pre-order as many as you like. There's a new, well, new to us club. So Dream in Color also does what they call the socket club. And that is with their smushy sock yarn. So what I've always carried here in the shop is smushy with cashmere. They have a smushy sock yarn without cashmere that is 85% superwash wool, 15% nylon. The yardage is a little bit more on it. They have 420 yards. The smushy with cashmere has 400 yards per skein. The socket one, the socket club, you get one full 4-ounce skein of sock yarn, and you get 100-yard mini skein in a coordinating solid. So the full skein will be hand dyed, of course. Last year, they dyed them in a way where if you knit socks, they sort of spiraled. They didn't stripe, but they spiraled. It was really cool. And then each month they had a coordinating mini skein. Because I've not carried smushy without cashmere in the shop, I've never signed up for this club, but I am now. The shop is now. So there is a separate link for that. Make sure you're getting the right one. It is correct that the socket club is a little bit more expensive because it has that extra mini skein versus the cashmere. You might glance at it and say, oh, well, you know, the cashmere one should be the more expensive ones, but the pop-up club is cashmere. The socket club is sock yarn with the mini skein. Both up on the website. The socket kits are normally $37.50. Pre-order price is $33.99. And that one goes August to November. So that one starts next month. The pre-order price is there until the beginning of whatever month it is. So August pre-order price will be there until August 1st, and then it will go back to the regular price. And so on down the way. Events coming up. You've heard me talk about it before. We're going to talk about it again. The I-75 yarn crawl starts the end of this month, July 30th through August 7th, I think. It starts on a Friday and it goes through the following Saturday. Yeah, so Melissa posted the link to the I-75 yarn crawl website. They don't charge for a passport like they have in the past. Pre-COVID, they would print out passports for everybody, would get stamps. Now your passport is digital. So if you click on that, you'll see all the shops that are participating. But if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, there is a little box for you to put your information in to receive a PDF of the shops. Even if you're not going to participate, it's not a bad idea to get a digital version of that. Each shop has a little write-up about what they offer, and it's kind of a neat way to learn about different shops. And maybe in the future, if you're going on a road trip somewhere, you can keep that in mind and find a new shop. Diane, with the clubs, do you have to put in an order each month? So you can pre-order all of them, but they are all listed as different items. If you go into the Smushy Cashmere Pop-Up Club, you would have to add August, September, September, October, November, and December separately. But you can do it all in one transaction. We can run them all together. Good question. Thanks for asking. So the I-75 yarn crawl, I mentioned it before, I have one of my exclusive yarns here already. The other one from Ridiculous, is supposed to be on its way to me, along with some other new things, because, you know, if she's sending me yarn, I might as well have her send me more yarn. And my self-striping from Brenda and Heather, I need to touch base with them because I haven't heard from them in a while. I know they had a lot going on. They're really good about honoring their commitments, so I'm not worried about it. But at the end of the month, I'm going to have 3 exclusive to the shop new yarns, and I can't wait to share them with you guys. Will you get a preview of the Dream in Color pop-up colorways? Christina, I'm not sure. I feel like in the spring, they didn't really give me, it was like the day before that I, as a shop, got an email with like their inspiration pictures and what the yarn was going to look like. I'm going to clarify with them, because if I can give you guys a sneak peek, I will, but I don't want to do anything that's not fair to other shops that are participating. So if I can, I will. The yarn crawl, that's coming up. Even if you're not part of the yarn crawl, the shop does have different hours during those 8 days. We are open all 8 days. It's not 10 to 6 like our normal shop hours. On off-market days, the hours are a little bit different. Need to make sure that I post that somewhere. I'm gonna have to figure that out in Facebook and Google and all the things. And I feel so bad because I think anybody who's coming, I'm trying to figure out the best way, directions from I-75 to get here. Every time I think I've come up with the most direct way, there's construction and a road shut down, and it's impossible. So I am trying. I really am. It probably will be very last minute. I will post something that says, if you're on I-75, get here this way. But if you use Google Maps, they're pretty accurate with it too. Or if you get stuck on a detour and need to get your way out, use Google Maps, Deb. I think that's it. We do have the retreat coming up in September, the end of September, 23rd through the 25th, I think, Thursday through Sunday, out in Sebring. I have more people signed up this year than I have in the past, which is fantastic. I'm so excited. I think so many of us just want more opportunities to connect and have that community. So I can't wait. I'm super excited for that. And I think that's all I have for you guys this week. So let me know if there's anything that you saw that you're interested in. If you have more questions about any of either the pop-up club or the socket club, feel free to ask, message the shop via Facebook, Instagram, email, call 989-274-8571, I think. Can't wait to not work and knit with some fabulous friends. Yes. Yes, take some walks, get some sunshine, or if it's raining, don't get some sunshine, but still knit and chat and have a good time. So I think that's it. I hope everybody has a fantastic week. I hope your projects go smoothly. There is no ripping out unless you are really okay with it. But remember, you want your finished project to be something that you wear or that you're proud to gift or show to people. You don't want to be frustrated with it. You put all that time and work into it. Bonnie went all 4 months. You got it. All right. So have a great week. Be productive, be creative, and have a good time. And I will see you next Monday at 7, unless I see you in the shop sooner. Everybody have a good night.